Welcome to the Let's Talk BS podcast. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Sofia, and we're coming to you live from the
757.
Good morning, Bryan.
Hey, how you doing? Good morning.
I'm doing pretty good today.
That's good.
I got a very long week this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just, oh my gosh, I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I look so light.
Yeah, the lights is bright today. The lights is bright.
Oh my goodness, I look almost pale, and I'm definitely not pale. But, so this past week, trying to think what happened to me this past week. What's been going on with you?
Yeah, so last week, I made some brisket, some banging brisket. Yeah. I got it from the farmer's market. It's a farmer's market we typically go to. We either go to the one at the oceanfront, or we go to the one in Norfolk.
I've never been to like a farmer's market that sells meat.
Yeah, you should go. I mean, they sell a lot of stuff. I mean, it's got food trucks there. I mean, they sell vegetables, meat. Like you got people that sell like honey, soaps, butter. I mean, lotions.
Now I did go to the farm off of Mount Pleasant and got some honey butter. That was good. Then I made some biscuits and I put it on there. It was real
sound
good. Yeah.
That sounds real good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they farmers market is dope. Like I always try to support local, so that's what it is. Just different local vendors coming. So I got some brisket and made it this past weekend or last weekend.
You did it on a Saturday?
Yeah, I did, because this was actually Memorial Day weekend. Right. So I actually did it on Sunday. So
okay.
Yeah, I got Saturday we went to the farmer's market and I actually made the brisket on Sunday. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was Memorial Day weekend last weekend, so it was cool.
So did you grill on the same day that your son had his recital?
I did. Yeah. So I woke up early that morning. Put the brisket on the grill like 6 o'clock in the morning, smoked it for about 7 hours. I want to say to like 1:30. And then I wrapped it up. I put it in this wrap that I do. This is wax wrap paper. And then put it back on the grill for like 2 hours. And then I took it off right before we walked out the door. His recital was at 4 on Sunday. So I took it off like 3:30 right before we left out the house. Mm-hmm. And then put it like in a cooler. And I just let it kind of cool down, let the cooking process stop for like an hour or two. Mm-hmm. So when I got home, we ended up eating, and it was delicious. I made one during New Year's, and it was pretty good. I think I cooked it a little bit too long, but this one was juicy. It was good, man. It was really, really, really good. Like the kids ate it up. I remember I had brisket the next like 2 or 3 days. I had maybe like brisket sandwiches. I had some Hawaiian rolls. I threw it between some Hawaiian rolls.
Oh man, I love pulled beef, not pulled pork, but like beef when it's shredded up with like barbecue on those Hawaiian rolls. Yeah. That's like my stuff.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. I love that too, man. You put anything between them Hawaiian rolls for the most part, it is pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
I did that for Jada's. So we had like a get together for Jada's birthday a couple years ago, and I bought like a bunch of Hawaiian themed stuff. So I had like lace, I had these clips, I had like a Hawaiian background that you could take pictures in front of. I had like the Hawaiian skirts for the girls.
Oh wow.
I had the skirts for the tables and stuff like that. And our food was the sliders, beef sliders. And then I did mac and cheese, watermelon, and I also had these pineapple cups. So like, you know how when you go down on vacation and they got these extravagant cups that they give you when you order your alcoholic drinks. Yeah. So I had basically pineapples. Not pineapples, but palm trees. Okay. Cups for the kids or whatever. So it was pretty cool along with her cake and stuff. So
that's good. Yeah. So we did the brisket. Like I said, it was a hit in the house. So everyone liked it. My son had his recital, as you mentioned, that Sunday. He did a great job. I was so proud of him. He was nervous as I don't know what. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how in your children you see a lot of your similarities of like yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's one thing about me, that I get nervous. And so when I get nervous, I start to kind of like do other things because I'm like trying to get my mind off of what I'm getting ready to do. And he's so like me when it comes to those types of moments. Anytime there's something like fun that he really wants to do or just something that, he doesn't know or he's just unfamiliar with, he gets so nervous, and the way that he expresses it is so funny to me. And so, that day he was so nervous. He was jumping around, bouncing around, and just trying to get that nervous energy out of his system. And so when we got there, it was a lot different because normally when he does his practicing on his piano, it's just him and the teacher, and maybe just, me, Brooke, or, Sloan. Look, this is us right there, right?
Yeah.
And it's in our house. So the recital, mind you, the teacher, she teaches, I think it was like 20 different kids that she does this with. So all the kids that she teaches was there with their parents. So, you have this like auditorium room with like 40 to 50 people in there. And so you're on stage, it's just you, the lights are shining on you. And so he was like nervous. It was funny. So the kids went up there and did some little practice beforehand. And he was even nervous to go up there and practice. He was like, man. And then when he was on the piano, he was like looking around, playing the piano, like looking at what was going on and stuff. It was just funny, man. But he did a great job. He did a really, really good job. So I'm super proud of him for that. That was his first type of thing like that. He's done other different things with his school, but outside of school, like his first like recital type of thing was pretty cool.
So I had the total opposite of that. My daughter was sick. She ended up having strep throat. So we ended up going to urgent care on Monday, on Memorial's Day.
Okay.
And got there. She had complained about having a sore throat. She was fatigued and she was throwing up. And so I guess throwing up is one of the symptoms when it comes to having strep throat, which I did not know. That was a new one for me.
Okay.
But we got there. They prescribed her an antibiotic. Within 24 hours, she was back to herself again. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So she was the only one sick. Everybody else is fine. Nobody got sick after that. It was crazy. It's just crazy how, like, we all around each other. But I also, like, told her, I was like, don't touch nothing. Stay where you at. If you need something out the refrigerator or common areas, like, I'll get it. And then I told her, she was only dedicated to use one of the bathrooms.
Yeah.
She couldn't go bouncing around between the three. She had to stick to that one. Then I made sure nobody used that bathroom but her until she was back better. And then we went and sanitized everything. So we just kind of, like, quarantined her in her own little way.
Yeah.
She wasn't in her own room, but she actually did everything in the living room. It was crazy.
Okay.
Like, she slept in the living room. She wouldn't get
up.
Oh, she
did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, all right. I was like, no. And then she slept on, like, the reclining couch. To me, reclining couches are not comfortable to sleep on. They're comfortable to, like, sit and
maybe take a
nap and maybe take a nap.
Yeah.
But to go to sleep for the night,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So she didn't even go to my other couch because I have another couch that is comfortable to sleep on, and she didn't go in there.
Wow.
So.
Wow. That's interesting, man.
Yeah. And then we also went shopping because she got her dance coming up on the 10th, and so we got her dressed before her symptoms got really bad. When she was just like, oh, I feel kind of funny. You know how at the beginning stages you could still function.
Yeah.
So we went, got her dressed and all of that stuff before everything really set in. And that was pretty much it. That was my whole weekend, just trying to make sure she got better, trying to keep her, afloat.
Okay.
I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm sorry to hear that she wasn't feeling the greatest. I know how that can go, So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She better now.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good.
By Tuesday she was fine.
She feeling
literally.
better.
Like
like a two down 2 days. Yeah, that's what sounds about right. Yeah. 48 hours.
Yeah. She was fine. As soon as she got the antibiotic, I remember her taking. As soon as we left the doctor, she took a dose. We went straight there. We took a dose right away. I had her double up. So you know how usually they say take 2 doses in one day?
Yeah.
But ain't nothing wrong with doubling up on a dose like within like 3 or 4 hours. It ain't gonna kill you. Okay. So we did a double dose that day.
Okay, that sounds dangerous. No. Okay.
No, because if you've ever, you've probably never had to take an antibiotic like in your adult years. Maybe I don't know.
I don't really do medicine like that. So
I especially for me, I have more of a more experience in allergy medicine. So like I've broken out in hives to where they double down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on the first day, and then they'll be like go to your regular scheduled routine after that. But the first day they'll like give you double just so you can like get into your system and work better. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then I had a severe sore throat last year to where my sore throat had basically closed up my throat, and I couldn't even really talk.
Dang.
And so...
You know what? I actually remember that. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so I went to the hospital, and they double dosed me with antibiotic when I was there, before I even left.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Hers wasn't as bad because she got her tonsils removed, so it was kind of like not as swollen. It was just hurting when she swallowed, so...
Gotcha.
TMI, but yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I guess to wrap up Memorial Weekend, so Sunday obviously was the recital and the brisket. Monday morning, I actually went and hoop with the fellas, man. I got, not the same guys I typically mention that live in my neighborhood, but I got a couple other guys that, pretty much, I wouldn't say grew up with, but I met them, right after high school. So, right in my adult/professional time frame. And, we went to the same church and worked out together and all that. And so every time we get together, it's always, basketball is brought up because we played basketball numerous years. And then two of us, actually played high school basketball, me and then my buddy Terry, who's actually our assistant's boyfriend. So, and he's a pretty big guy, 6'4". He's a pretty tall guy. And he's good at basketball, too. He's really good. And so our other buddies, Tyrone and Jerome, I think this was in April, so I think this was around Easter. I know it was near my daughter's birthday, and I think both of our daughters have birthdays around that same time, my buddy Jerome, his daughter, and my daughter. So we were at their house, doing, I think, an Easter egg hunt or a birthday or something. And then the conversation got sparked, like, hey, when's the last time we actually hooped? And we started talking about that, and they was talking junk, talking about they always beat us. So I was like, oh, man. So he was like, yeah, we got to play again soon. And so Terry sent out a text, and a group text with us four. It was like, yo, y'all free Memorial Day? Y'all off? And all of us was like, yeah. And so we met up at the gym and played 6 games, and we dusted those dudes off, man. We beat them 6-0. And I ain't gonna lie, I hadn't played ball in about 2 years. I was killing. Like, I mean, it was. I felt like, I don't know. I felt like I was in rare form, man. I was playing very well that day.
You felt like you was 18 all over again?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I felt just like that. I mean, and the guys was like, and then it was even mad and stuff. It was funny. They was talking to each other. Well, who guard him? You guard him. No, you guard him. I'm like, I'm just over here laughing at them. It was just funny, man. So we played a little ball on Memorial Day, man. Got a good work in, and then after that, I sped home because we went to go see the Little Mermaid movie.
Yeah, we still haven't went to go see that. The movie theater has been packed.
Yeah, like, it was packed that day.
I was even looking at it for like this weekend, and it was still, every theater was packed. Yeah,
because kids now are getting out of school. Because the weekend I went was the first weekend it came out, and so we went, obviously on a holiday, which a lot of kids were out of school that day, so it was packed. I remember because we went to 11 o'clock showing, so it was the very, very first showing that morning, right?
No, the at Edinburgh.
Yeah, for that particular day.
They had a 9:30.
They got one, but it just that Monday, that particular day, yeah, they didn't. That was the first showing. They told us that was the first showing of the day, and they said that they had ran out of chicken the night before because the movie. That movie had been so packed and so many people had been there, so the food we ordered, they didn't have chicken in it or whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of, it's been packed. I mean, like I said, the movie there was very packed.
And then it didn't make it any better that Spider-Man came out the very next weekend.
Yeah,
so
this past weekend, yeah.
Even so, with the Little Mermaid, I think that they moved the Little Mermaid to the side because I noticed that all the theaters were smaller because we do cinema too, Cinema Cafe, so you can actually see the seating.
Yeah.
And all of the theaters now that the movie is in is the smaller ones, and then Spider-Man has the bigger one.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, the movie was good, man.
I can't wait to see it. Don't tell me about it.
I'm not gonna tell you. It was just really good. It was really, really good. My kids, it's a little longer on the long end, so. My daughter, she was locked in, but my son, because the movie was like 2 hours and 15, 2 hours and 20 minutes, I want to say. Mm-hmm. So like with 30 minutes left, my son was just like, Dad, he was itching, and they both had to go to the bathroom numerous times. I counted at least 3 times they went to the bathroom. So I was like, man. But yeah, it was really, really good. It was really, really good, man. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna put Brooke out there, but she was got a little tears in her eyes too during the movie. But she wasn't the only one in the movie theater crying though. So, but it was definitely one of those, tear jerker type of movies, I would say.
Yeah.
But everybody knows the Little Mermaid story, so it was the same thing. It was just, the acting and just kind of the moments and the music and all that can get to you. So, yeah.
So I was watching. I was online, and this lady was like. Basically saying that she didn't like the fact that Ariel gave up her voice to a man and like had this big huge thing about the Little Mermaid, and instantly I went to the comments because I was thinking to myself, like, has she never seen the original? Like, that's exactly what happens.
That's the storyline.
Yeah, in the storyline.
Yeah, I told you, people just be finding stuff to get mad at, man, just to try to pick a fight.
Yeah, just to pick a fight. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that was interesting to see, you know, that come up. It was just like, really? Like, you're just trying to be heard for no reason.
Yeah,
like,
just trying to spark up. Yeah, it's probably somebody who don't get talked to that much, so she just wants somebody to start talking to her, or just talking, you know, on her post or whatever.
Because everybody shot her down in the comments. It was so funny because all you could see is has she not, like, seen the original? Like, that's what happens. Like, you want to change the whole story? Like, come up with, be a movie writer. Like, anyway.
Yeah, doing the most.
The most.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our week, guys. I mean, we were pretty much with the family, you know, for the most part. But
funny thing too, real quick, I was about to say, I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off. Funny thing I remember too, my pops, man, he had me weak because, you know, right before that week, we went to Turks and Caicos, Brooke and I, and it was just funny because he wanted me to get some white Hennessy for him. And so, you know, most folks out there who are familiar, like, you know, you can't really get white Hennessy stateside. You know, you typically got to get it when you're like in the Caribbean or when you're out, you know, out of the country at the duty station there at the airport. You know, so he was warning. He was like, son, he's like, you give me as much as you can and all this or whatever. I was like, all right, cool. So when I got back, I told him how many bottles I got because I was able to only get a case. A case had 4 bottles in there. And so I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm going to keep one myself. And I was like, you can have the other 3. And he was like so upset by that. Like he was really wanting me to get like I was smuggling white Hennessy across the line, across the border or something. I'm like, he was like upset, like for real. I could see his whole tone of his voice changed. And I was like, Dad, like what? I mean, what you want me to do? I already got luggage and stuff. You want me to try to carry these bottles? Like, what do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? So, but it was just fun. I just wanted to share that. I don't really talk about my pops and my mom that much on the podcast, but I just wanted to say that funny little story.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, now we're going to jump right into exercise your knowledge. So during this segment, we ask you a mortgage-related question, and we want you to think about it, store the answer in your brain, and then later on, we will reveal the answer. Once we reveal the answer, we'll see if your answer matched up with ours. So today's exercise your knowledge question is, are you allowed to pick your own appraiser when buying a new home using a lender?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah. I've actually had that come up recently, and it comes up pretty frequently. I would say more so recently I've had it come up. And, you know,
comes up.
Yeah, it definitely comes up. You know, everybody got somebody that they know that's in, you know, some type of construction, appraisal, something. So, you know, are you able to actually use someone as an appraiser that you may know, that you're familiar with, that you know that would have your best interest at heart? It's a good question. Yeah.
All right, and then speaking of appraisals, we thought that today would be a great day to discuss appraisals. So first I'm going to start off with, go ahead and define what an appraisal is. Yeah,
so an appraisal is when you have a licensed appraiser go to a home and do an inspection of the home, and then also draw up a report about the home and then give their opinion of value of that said home. So, you know, they take a look at a lot of the different things that are involved. They take a look at the condition of the home, right? So, you know, they'll say fair, above average, below average. So they'll look at the actual condition of the home at that particular time. And they'll also take a look at the
recent sales.
The recent sales, right? And so they'll look at the recent sales, typically within about a mile radius of that home. And then the houses that are, within the last 6 months to a year. And then there's also the houses that are very similar in size, right? So the same amount of bedrooms, the same amount of square feet, or the same amount of bathrooms. So that's typically what an appraiser does, and they send the report out and gives their opinion of value of the home. So they're a non-interested party. You know, they're a third party. They don't know the buyer. They don't know the seller. They typically do work depending upon what loan type. Mortgage companies do have contracts with appraisal companies. So that is something as far as that goes, but they're not trying to benefit us in any way. There's no benefit in us at all. Their job is just strictly to go to the home, look at it, and give their opinion of value. Yep. Period. No matter what price is on the contract, whatever's been worked out, whatever's been negotiated, their job is just to find what their opinion of value is at that time.
And then also a fun fact is as mortgage bankers and loan officers, we're not allowed to have contact with the appraiser.
Yeah.
Now, there's some instances, and when I say some, limited, very few, not many at all, where they would call us to ask a question if for some reason they're not getting the complete answer that they need. But typically, I think in the last 2 years, I may have talked to one appraiser.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you, that one time that I did, it was on a refinance. So it was on something that the person already owned. It's not like they're, really digging too much. Like, I ain't gonna say they're not doing their job, but it's just a different type of transaction because that person is already living in the home. It's coming from a different dynamic. I haven't spoken to an appraiser on a purchase in years.
Yeah, it's funny. So obviously I've been a mortgage loan officer for a while now. So I remember when I first got into the industry, it wasn't like that. Yeah. Actually, we used to, I remember the office that I worked at, and it wasn't anything that we were doing, illegally. It was just the nature of how things were at that time. But, we used to talk to appraisers all the time.
All the time.
I mean, literally, they would show up at the office. We would go get lunch with them,
That's
talk
exactly
to them.
Why there were so many laws put in place, because
Correct.
Lenders or individuals would influence appraisers to appraise properties for more than what they were worth.
Correct.
And so in return, that actually, hurt the market.
Correct.
Because you have people buying home, in addition to the lender, getting you into an adjustable rate, and then your mortgage payment increasing significantly after a certain amount of time. Then you had the appraiser going in and appraising the property way above value. So it was just an overall not great experience. And so they put laws in place to eliminate that communication. So no party is influenced by the other.
Yeah, it's the good old Dodd-Frank Act is what came down. But yeah, like I said, I used to have conversations with appraisers. I mean, we used to go to lunch. I remember there was a gentleman that I kind of wonder if he still is an appraiser, to be honest with you. I can't remember his name, but we used to go to lunch all the time. He would hit me up and say, "Hey, Bryan, you ready? You want to go to lunch?" And at this time, my office was in Norfolk, so it was a lot of nice little eatery places near ODU. And so we would go there and eat lunch all the time. And he was actually a younger guy. He was probably 5 or 6 years older than me at the time. He's probably 26, 27, and I was 21, 22. So, like you said, now it's not like that. I mean, we're not really able to have any conversations, which I understand. I actually think that's a good thing. I think that's one of those good, a lot of times when changes and rules come down, sometimes we're like, oh man, I don't like it or whatever. I think that is really a good rule that came down to, kind of make things where that's what it is. Yeah. It's no hey, so-and-so needs this, so-and-so is trying to persuade him here or there.
Correct.
It's just let that person do their job. It's their opinion, and we're going to roll with it.
Correct.
So, yeah.
I think it's a great thing too.
Yeah.
It's just one thing that you don't really have to worry about.
Yeah.
Because I don't want an agent calling me saying, "Hey, can you reach out to the appraiser and see if we can get an extra $20,000?"
And that's what they used to do. Yep.
It eliminates a lot of chaos.
Yep.
So I actually don't mind the Dodd-Frank Act.
Yeah.
Applaud to you. Thank you so much for coming through in the clutch years and years ago.
Yeah.
But another thing that we want to really dive deep on is the fact that, when the appraisal comes in, right, it can either come in at value, it can come in above value, and it can come in below value. And so when it comes
I wouldn't say value, say, because value is what it is, right? So
at the sales price.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It can either come in at the sales price, above the sales price, or below the sales price.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So if that happens and it meets the sales price, so if you magic number, purchase a house at $300,000 and the value comes at $300,000, then great. you know, you meet the minimum requirement. That's all we need as far as the lender goes. If you're above $300,000, so let's say your value comes in at $320,000, but you purchased the home for $300,000, then great. You know, you have equity in your property. You're starting off great. I mean, that's like the best news.
Yeah, that's the best news. Yeah, for sure.
Can get is us giving you that call saying, hey, we got your appraisal, and guess what? In addition to that, you're starting off with, you know, lots of equity, because it's not as common for you to have that much equity. You know, sellers try to capitalize on as much as they can to get the most money into their pocket.
And just like anything, I'll give an example real quick. Like, you know, let's say, you know, most folks that are, you know, listening to this probably have bought a car or been around somebody who's bought a car, right? You know, a lot of folks are familiar with Kelley Blue Book, right? Where you can go online and look and see what, you know, how much the car is worth. Right, so that's basically a version of an appraisal, right? So that's them being able to give you what their opinion of the value is at the time. So what Sophia just mentioned in that example, if you're able to go buy something that you can show, hey, that it's worth this, but you're getting it substantially less or less than what, you know, someone opinion of value is, then yeah, that's a good deal, right? You know what I mean? So if you see a car that, you know, Kelley Blue Book says it's going for $20,000, but on this, you know, you're able to negotiate and have someone actually sell the car to you for $15,000, and yeah, you got a car for $15,000 that was really worth $20,000, right? So that's kind of the same principle when it comes to a mortgage. Is, you know, hey, you may be under contract to buy something at this amount, but once that appraiser comes in and gives their opinion of value, if it comes in more than what you're under contract for, that's just, hey, you have equity, you have an asset that's more than what you owe on it, which is always good.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So having equity in your property is great. And then, you know, statistics show that homes have been appreciating for between an average, besides COVID, maybe 3 to 5% a year.
Yeah, that's the average over time. Yeah,
your value of your property has been increasing about 2 to 5% per year. So if you're already starting off in a positive, as many years as you hang on to that property, it's with hopes that once you are ready to move on to your next property and sell, that you have tons of equity that you can take out. And we've talked about, you know, what you can do with your equity and how that benefits you as a buyer.
Correct.
Now, what happens when your appraisal comes in low?
Yeah.
That's the part that gets a little tricky, right? Because the lender's not going to they're not going to lend you money on a house that appraises lower. So using that magical number of $300,000 again, if your value comes in at $290,000, then the max that the lender is going to lend to you is $290,000. And that difference between what your value is and what the sales price is, if you're at $290,000 versus $300,000, you have then 3 options. You could either renegotiate with the seller, ask them to bring that sales price down to the value, to the appraised value. You can, if you love that home, if say this is, you know, this is going to be your forever home and you want to invest in this property and you see the vision, you could pay that $10,000 out of pocket. Or if you guys cannot come to an agreement, then you both can simply walk away from the transaction. Now, there are different rules that are in place. I'll let you go ahead and talk about the Tidewater rule.
Yeah.
But this one is specifically for VA loans. So again, specifically for VA loans, and I'll let you jump right into that one.
Yeah. So first thought, just want to, before I do that, just take a step back and say when the appraisal is actually done, right? So once you're under contract, you know, typically when the seller and buyer both agree on terms, we have what's called a ratified contract. Then once that happens, you know, in most cases, there is a home inspection that's done, right? So then the home inspector will go out. That's something that's not required in the transaction. It's something that
doesn't give you value.
Doesn't give you value. It just gives a list of the condition of the house and the different things that a home inspector feels maybe needs to be taken a look at prior to buying, or just giving you a heads up, hey, this, you know, HVAC it's 10 years old, so it probably has only a couple more years left on it or whatever, right? They're just going to give you a breakdown so you kind of have a clear understanding of some of the different things you probably can't just see with the naked eye, right? That a professional can actually point out to you and give you a report on. So, boom, home inspection's done. You still feel good, everything's looking good. That's when we order the appraisal, right? So that's actually like normally one of the last things that happen right before you close on that home, right, is the appraisal.
And we hope that it's never a situation where it's too far off, because your real estate agent should be basically doing what the appraiser does.
Correct.
They should be running the comps for the area, seeing how houses sold within a mile within 6 months ago, and determining based on those sales the value of your home. Correct. And so it's just basically that extra step that the appraiser takes that your real estate agent should be doing. So your agent shouldn't be too far off from the appraiser.
Correct.
In most cases.
Correct. Because they're looking at the same data. The data is the exact same.
The data is the data.
Yeah, and it's just an opinion, typically kind of average out what you're seeing, and then that's what it is, right? But yeah, jumping back into it, speaking about VA purchases and the Tidewater rule. So obviously we mentioned before in this area, we do a lot of VA purchases because of the military presence here. And so what happens is when there's a situation where an appraiser is going out, they do their inspection, they look at the house, they have their report, and they're getting ready to send it out. If they're seeing that the value that they're coming in at is less than what the contract says, they're going to send out what's called the Tidewater rule. And the Tidewater rule, what it does is it allows the listing agent and seller to send information to support the current sales price, right? Because that's typically what happens, right? The listing agent and seller come up with an amount that they say, hey, this house is worth, and this is what we're going to sell it for, right? So if an appraiser comes in and is like, hey, I'm not getting that, they're not going to tell you how much they're coming in at. It could be $1,000 less, or it can be $30,000 less. It could be a wide range, but they're not going to disclose that. They're just going to say, hey, I'm coming in low, and I'm going to give you 48 hours to be able to send. Typically it's comps if there's any type of justifications on square footage, anything of that nature that needs to, to be spoken about. That's what the Tidewater rule is there for, right? So it just basically gives you that last hurrah to justify, hey, this is why I'm trying to sell the house at this amount, right? And so they'll send that information over to us. We turn it in to the VA and to the VA appraiser. And then they'll look at the data that listing agent and seller sent, and they'll look at what they did as well, and they'll come up with the final decision at that particular time. And sometimes I've seen situations where they'll look at it and they're like, that's kind of a stretch. They're kind of reaching to try to get this. I think that the house is worth what I initially was thinking, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, they'll look at it and they'll say, hey, you know what? I can kind of see what's going on here. Maybe I use this comp, or maybe I was looking at it from this lens. So they'll use all the information what the listing agent came up with, and also what they were looking at, and then they'll come up and say, hey, you know what? I can see now why I can justify the house to be worth what you guys are under contract for. So it's really still up to the appraiser to make that decision, but it does give that listing agent or seller kind of that last chance to send information to support that current sales price.
Yeah, so the Tidewater rule, again, only applies to the VA loan, but it does allow the opportunity for the listing agent to provide supporting documentation to how they came up with that sales price for the appraiser to review it to confirm if they missed something, basically. And then, they'll gather everything together, make a final decision, and then they'll issue out the appraisal. And then from there, it's up to us as the lender to kind of notify all parties.
Correct.
As to what that appraised value is. Now, that's just with the VA loan.
Correct.
Now, with anything like your conventional loan and your FHA loan, and I even believe a USDA loan. I haven't done too many USDAs, but there's no heads up on value.
Correct.
So when the appraisal comes in, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, there are appraisal reconsiderations that can be done.
Yeah.
However, it actually works in the opposite. So the appraisal reconsideration would have to come from the buyer. And so it's kind of one of those catch-22s, right? So the buyer has to submit for the reconsideration, but the catch-22 is that now you're basically, as a buyer, vouching that the listing agent information is correct, and you're agreeing to buy it at this higher price by asking the appraiser to reconsider the value and kind of like double up on work to make sure that what they gave was correct. And I don't see the benefit of that. As a buyer, I just feel like...
So let me tell you this. You're 100% correct.
As a buyer, I would never go to a seller and say, hey, you know what? I really want to pay your sales price even though the value came in low.
Correct.
Like, I would never do that. But it is something that can happen, and you typically see it happen when that buyer's in a tight spot. But
correct.
I think that if you stand on it, if you stand on your word and you could potentially get through it and work it out. But appraisal reconsiderations, they're out there if you want to reconsider an appraised value. But it's just funny to me. Yeah,
it's not like you said. Normally, the times you see appraisal reconsiderations is when it's on a refinance, right? So let's say there's a refinance, and you're already living in the home, and you're thinking the house is worth something. You're trying to maybe do a cash out refinance where you're actually taking equity out for whatever reasons. Then as a borrower, you can actually request for an appraisal reconsideration, and they can reconsider the value. So those situations are a little bit more common. But again, there's not very many refinances going on right now at the time. No. So refinances as overall are down or not, not common. And so then on top of that, those situations are even less common than that. But when it comes to, as you mentioned, most of the time it's not in the buyer's best interest to reconsider the value, right? You're really just helping the listing agent try to potentially sell the house for more than what that appraiser initially comes up with when it comes to value. Now, I've recently had a situation where it was a VA purchase. So the Tidewater rule was put out, right? And so the listing agent was like, hey, okay, they sent over the comps and everything, and what happens is with the Tidewater rule, as I mentioned, they reviewed the information and they still said, hey, no, I'm not seeing that, this is what the value is. And it came in, I want to say it was like $19,000 less than what the initial sales price was, right? And this was a flip. So this was an investor who fixed the house up and was selling it. So I guess their bottom line, that wasn't good enough. So they were really upset. So they were also in this situation giving the buyer, who I was doing the loan for, closing cost assistance, right? And the buyer was pretty tight. They didn't have, like Sophia mentioned, they didn't have, money to pay their own closing costs, right? So in that situation, they were asking now the buyer to not, to come up with their own closing costs, right? They said, hey, now we're trying to sell the house to you, we were expecting to sell the house to you for a certain amount. It came in $19,000 lower than what we were anticipating, and we can't take a loss on that and also pay for your closing costs. So the buyer was like, well, I can't afford to pay my closing costs. So the buyer was like, hey, what we can do is we can try to do a reconsideration, right? So even though it's not normal for a buyer to want to go do that, they in their best interest was going to do that to hopefully maybe have it come in higher to where it would justify the seller now to still help and contribute with closing costs, or just show in good faith, hey, I'm trying to work with you, so could you still work with us if it still comes back low, at that $19,000 lower than what we're under contract for. So we went through that process, and the reconsideration came in and still the exact same amount that the initial appraiser had, and the seller just had to walk away. I mean, it was seller and buyer both had to walk away because the seller just said, hey, I'll just try to sell it to somebody else. Maybe the value comes in higher on another one, which I don't know. Normally it works out. Normally the buyer and seller, because both of them are determined to try to have it sold, especially at that particular time because they were so close. We were we could have closed the next day once they agreed upon it. But the seller wanted to roll the dice to take the chance of getting under contract again and then hoping that another person's opinion of value came in higher, which I just think the seller got some bad information. The listing agent that were stretching on trying to get something that really just wasn't there. So, yeah, those are your rare situations.
Did you save that address? Because I would like to know what it sold for.
I have it in my system. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it. I mean, it was the house looked nice. I mean, it was a flip. They did nice renovations and everything. But I think that they were like, you know how during the pandemic people were like, you know, selling it for like 10, like whatever the top comp in the neighborhood was sold for a certain amount, then they would put 10,000 on top of that because they said, hey, this just looks this. But if the comps don't support that, then the comps just don't support it. Exactly. And I think that's one of the situations that were going on, or I know that's what was happening with this particular situation. So, but one thing I will say, I don't even know if me and you talked about this, Sophia. What I'm hearing is coming down the pipe, because you know, kind of switching lanes a little bit, but it kind of piggybacking off what I was just saying. You know, when you're selling a house, a seller has to a seller has to pay out the buyer's agent's cost, that listing agent's cost, and then also potentially any closing costs that they're given and their own closing costs. So a seller is essentially paying out anywhere between 9 to like 11% in cost when it comes to sell a house, right? But there's something that they've been talking about recently where they're looking at starting to have buyers now starting to pay for buyer's agent's cost. So have you heard about that at all? Yeah, that's something that I've heard. I don't know if it's something that's just going to maybe start top of 2024, maybe before then, or maybe it's just conversation. But I'm starting to hear a lot more. You know, when they say when there's smoke, there's fire. I'm hearing a lot more people talk about it, a lot more press being talked about it. Even people I know that's kind of like in that place that kind of is aware of things when it first comes out or when it's getting ready to come down the pipeline. They've even said, yeah, this is something that's a real thing. So, you know, that's something that I'm very interested to see if that does happen, because if it does, one thing, I'm gonna definitely, as an investor, I'm gonna start selling a lot more homes, because that's more money I don't got to worry about paying no more as a seller. But it also it hurts though, because a lot of our buyers don't have the money. So exactly. I'm wondering how they're gonna do that. Like, that's gonna be kind of a tough thing, you know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. The
only way I see that working is if you can roll in the agent's commissions to the loan. I mean, that's the only way, because I mean, they're struggling to pay their own closing costs, honestly.
Correct. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, we'll see.
That'll slow down the housing market for sure.
Yeah, that would for sure. Correct.
For sure.
Correct. So I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe they feel like they need to up the standard on a buyer and who's buying a home. Maybe that's a part of it. But I mean, I'm hearing that this is something that's it's going to be probably a reality here sooner before later. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, better save those coins.
Yeah. Right.
Do what you can.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it doesn't matter what your income is. You have to save. You have to save something. Nobody's saying to save half your check, but $20 every paycheck, $100 every paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you can save and put it out of sight, out of mind. Open a bank account that is very hard to access and just, you know, have that money. You know, nowadays you can set up allotments with your employer. So it doesn't even come to your bank account. It actually goes directly via direct deposit to that side account. So you don't even see it. You don't even have to allocate it yourself, but you can, you know, set it up that way so you can actively start saving. So
correct.
You can definitely get savvy with your savings if you're really serious about saving money, because nowadays, you know, depending on what state you live in, jobs ain't guaranteed. You know, a lot of companies are what they call it at something employer. What is it?
At work, at home.
No. What is it called when your employer can let you go for no reason?
I mean, we're in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's basically what it is here. I mean, it's called a right to work. Right to work. You know, state. Yeah.
Like you don't have to do anything wrong if they just don't have that position available anymore. Then what you're gonna do? Correct. You're not gonna be able to pay, you know, your bills. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, thank God that there's a lot of employers that really care about their employees, and they wouldn't do that. Correct. But at the same time, it can happen. Correct. If your company's going broke, what do you expect for them to do?
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
So just save. Long story short, save as much as you can.
Absolutely.
All right, so earlier in the segment, we asked you guys a mortgage-related question, and today we asked you if you are buying a property, can you pick your own appraiser?
Drum roll.
If you're using a lender, I'll have to throw that in there.
Yeah. If you're getting financing.
If you're getting financing from a lender, do you pick your own appraisal? So drum roll. So the answer to that question is no. You cannot pick your own appraiser unless you are buying a house cash. Yeah. Then if you want to have an appraiser go out there and you want to pick your own appraisal, by all means, there's nobody that is backing your loan. It's your cash. You can do what you want, right? You don't even have to have an appraisal if you don't want to. But if a lender is giving you the money to finance and purchase that property, you cannot pick your own appraiser. You are only allowed to pick your own home inspector, your own title company, your own lender, and your own real estate agent. But no on the appraisal. Yeah. They want to,
again, kind of piggybacking off of the the main subject of what we talked about today. They don't want it to be an interested party in any way. No. Yeah, they want it to be somebody random who doesn't have any kinship or friendship, with the buyer, with the seller, with any party involved, right? They want to make sure that it's just a clear decision on value, and that's what it is. Because obviously, if you have a family member who does it, they're going to have your best interest. And when it comes to lending and in the investment of someone getting money for this, it just blurs the lines. And that's something that,
sure does.
We just don't want it to happen, right? We don't want to create that environment where that is, how things are being, done.
Yep. So, Exactly. So the appraisal is the only thing that you are not allowed to shop. Yeah. Everything else you can shop around. Yeah. For the most part. Yeah. Including us. Yeah. All right, so what you got coming up?
This week I got, this past weekend, I didn't even touch on this past weekend, my kids had had a concert at their school. So it was the end of the year concert, which was pretty cool. They had like an outside
your school always does stuff on the weekends. They don't want to do it during the school day.
I don't know. They do a lot of stuff on Saturdays or Sundays, man. That's
so funny.
That is true. I guess maybe just to try to get full participation, maybe, I guess, people's jobs working throughout the week or something. Maybe they're saying, hey, on the weekend, because I know there always is full participation every weekend, every time something happens. But yeah, it was cool. Both my kids sang. I had videos of them. It was funny. My daughter sung. My son did as well, and that's kind of his thing. So he was very excited about that. And then they had like an ice cream truck come through, and we sat outside, talked to some of the parents, and kind of had a good time. So that was pretty cool. Also, this past weekend, I went golfing on Friday, which was pretty cool. Went to the Sticks and Vines soiree. That was on Saturday, so that was a pretty good time. A couple of my buddies, we got together and our wives and kind of kicked it, so that was cool. Okay. But yeah, this week really is just my kids are getting out of school on Wednesday, so they have a half a day. So just kind of spending time with them. We're looking at getting a hotel down at the beach at one of the newer. It's a new hotel down there on the north end on, I think it's the Embassy Suites right beside the Marriott that we really like. So we're probably going to check that out. I know the restaurant downstairs, that tacos and tequila restaurant, just opened up this past weekend.
Oh, so that sounds good.
Yeah, it do. Yeah, it do. I mean, I don't know about the tequila part, but
I might have to check that out.
Yeah. So we're gonna go check that out. Most likely, and then probably try to hit up Busch Gardens as well, maybe later this week before it starts to get really, really warm outside. So yeah.
So this week I am jam-packed worth of stuff. So this past weekend I had to braid, and I'm pretty good at braiding, I would say, but I had to braid my daughter's hair, but I hate doing it. But I had to braid two of my kids' hair. We had volleyball on Sunday. My daughter's potential date came to volleyball to ask me, the mom, if he could take her out or invite her, be her guest. What is it called? I don't even know. Her date for their eighth grade dance.
That's serious right there. What did you say?
I said yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You give him a hard time at all? I know how you do.
No, I didn't.
You didn't give him a hard time? Why you didn't give him a hard time? You been giving me a hard time when you didn't
do. But I didn't give him a hard time because he was super nervous.
Okay.
He was so nervous that he almost missed his opportunity to ask me because we were getting ready to leave.
Okay.
But because he was so nervous, because I did go in with the intention of messing with him, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I just was like, yeah, you can take her or whatever. So Actually, they're going to come over, take pictures, do this whole, almost kind of like prom, but not really, because it's like 8th grade prom, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and, 8th grade prom is, it's a thing. I remember my 8th grade prom.
Yeah. So that was cute or whatever. But tonight, we have, my daughter's the president of her student body, so she has to speak for the 6th and 7th grade award ceremony, and she has to speak at the 8th grade award ceremony, and they have sport awards on Thursday. So tonight we're doing the award ceremony for 6th and 7th grade, then volleyball right after at the oceanfront.
Okay.
Tomorrow is her award ceremony for 8th grade. Wednesday is my middle child's third grade open house night. Thursday is the award ceremony for athletes. Friday is volleyball again. And then Saturday is the dance. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, like every single day I just got crazy stuff. And then I still have applications that I need to work on, fires that I need to put out, people actively calling. Still trying to work out paperwork with my my SUV. So it's just a whole lot of stuff going on. I'm
gonna pray for you, girl, this week. You got a lot going on.
I do. Every night I have something going on. I'm pretty much gonna be bringing my computer wherever I go.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or calling you to help me out.
It makes sense. Yeah, it'd be like that. I understand.
I know. I was not planning on this week being this crazy, but that's like just how it.
How the tree shook.
Yeah, but next week we out of school, so I don't have to wake up early. All I gotta do is take one kid to school. Oh my gosh, I'm so relieved. Like my daughter has to be on the bus at 6:50 in the morning. It's very, very hard when you got 3 kids, 3 different times, and you're trying to manage and do all this stuff. So yeah, I was I'm excited for school to let out.
I heard
for
that.
Sure.
That's good.
Yeah. Outside of that, I really don't have anything else coming up. I know that professionally we have we brought back food truck Thursdays. We're doing that in June, July, and August. We got Why Not Wednesdays. Did you ever sign us up for it? Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a spot booked in July for Why Not Wednesdays. That's always a good time. Typically there's a band every Wednesday throughout the summer that comes in town center, and they basically play and you sit there and watch and you eat Why Not pizza. So we will entertain different real estate agents that we work with actively to come out, have a good time, just to kind of show appreciation outside of the other things that we do for appreciation. But so that we got that coming up. I know that I got a couple closings that I have to go to coming up here, and it's just, the balancing act, my cape,
I hear you. It sounds like a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. I got you though. If you need anything, just let me know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. For sure. Besides that, you got anything that?
No, that's it. We can go into the quote of the day.
All right. Well, we always like to leave you guys with on a positive note. So today's quote of the day, you want to go ahead and...
I'll do the honors. Okay. All right. Today's quote of the day is, just one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day.
And it couldn't be more true.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
If you wake up thinking positive, you should result in positive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, we always think a lot of the times with our quotes, man, it's always about that mindset, right? So setting the tone for the day. That's why I typically like to, go to the gym, work out in the morning, just kind of set the tone for the day. I feel like I've accomplished something that was tough. I had to mentally get prepared for it. During that time, I kind of just think about my family, just work, just a lot of different things. Try to just, kind of really prioritize my mind, how I'm going to attack the day, just like I'm attacking whatever I'm doing within that workout, man. And I feel like a lot of times if you do that, if you have that right mindset about things, man, it's funny how the day turns out more positive than negative versus, having that negative mindset going into the day.
Yep. So, yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
That is very true. So that is all the time that we have for you guys today. Please follow us on IG and Facebook. Mine's is SKB_mortgage.
And I'm Bryan with the Y_Royster.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.